grab your mocha, grab your lattes, grab your cappuccino, whatever the hell you're drinking. Sit on down. It's your host of today's Coffee Shop Comics with your boy Jobbers and Goons as the host. Minor channel name change to Coffee Shop Comics. This is simply because if you just look up Coffee Shop, a bunch of random shit comes up. However, Coffee Shop Comics should make the channel a lot more friendly to the algorithm. So that's how you can search the channel. But anyways, getting back to this, I've done a few cosmology videos before for other verses throughout fiction. I'll actually go ahead and make a playlist after this video so you guys can check out all the different cosmology videos. But what I'm going to do is walk you through the Star Wars Legends /EU. Cosmology does have some information from canon, but it also is accompanied by Legends and EU to really expand upon the verse itself, the lore, and how it scales, and what you can expect if you were to run into, let's say, the strongest character in Star Wars, or if you wanted to make the strongest, what level can you achieve? We're going to go over all that. If you guys enjoy scaling videos and cosmology videos, make sure to smash the like button. Let's try to get it to 100 likes. That would be amazing. But without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this. This is a Star Wars cosmology video, and let's begin. So, first layer we're going to talk about is the galaxy itself, because that in itself can be a little tricky / misleading. You see, I believe, at least in Legends EU, it's very easy to argue the galaxy itself is infinite 3D at least. My reason for this, there's plenty of instances throughout Star Wars mythos where within the pretense of the galaxy as being the location, space is considered infinite or endless, vast and endless, immeasurable, all these things. That's how it's used to describe the space within the galaxy. So, in my opinion, it's pretty easy to argue the galaxy itself, just one galaxy within Star Wars, just based on the statements and scaling provided within Legends, it would technically be at least infinite 3D. I don't think it's 4D, as they do call it space-time, so they kind of elaborate on probably being a fourth dimension, so I don't think a galaxy necessarily is 4D per se, or one would not just be 4D scaling to the galaxy. However, infinite 3D I think is really easy to argue. You could go 4D as a highball, but I think it's infinite 3D. Next, we have the universe itself. Now, this layer is not nearly talked about as much as the first layer. Typically, we refer to it as a galaxy far, far away and whatnot. So it's held within that context a lot of times. However, the universe in scope compared to what the galaxy is much more vast. In fact, it should be at least infinite 4D. Considering you can also argue the universe contains hyperspace, and the hyperspace they use to traverse and bypass regular laws of travel, you could make the argument this is infinite 4D to maybe 5D, but it definitely would confirm, considering it can interact with hyperspace, the universe can, that it can easily access 4D, easily should be 4D with space-time continuum and consideration, as well as it, like I said, is called endless, immeasurable, and infinite in nature, should be at least infinite 4D. You then have hyperspace. This is a potential layer. So what I'm saying by this is, if you are one that believes in the notion that the hyperspace is actually just contained within the universe and is like the top layer to it, it would just like be the top layer of infinite 4D. That's all it'd be, okay? And it would not be an extra layer. You don't really have to talk about it. But if you do breach upon it and talk about how it bypasses the normal traveling laws of the galaxy and even universe, you can argue this is potentially above the universe, and given the universe would be 4D, infinite 4D, it would be like 5D. However, given it interacts with the universe, I would argue maybe it's the top layer, or just another layer, and would complete the infinite 4D layer at worst. We then have to move on from this. There is a multiverse, or an infinite multiverse, with numerous and countless alternate realities. Sorry, I might have cut out realities. But anyways, this can be looked at in a multitude of ways. First, we have Star Wars Infinities, where we are made privy to a collection of stories in which it is governed by apparently branched off space-times that are dictated by key moments in history. For example, Luke joining his father instead of saying no and running away. Or you could have another where, let's say, Han Solo is killed by Boba instead of Han Solo being saved. Things like that. Different changes, and it's called Star Wars Infinites. So there's that set of, the infinite parallel realities and spread throughout the multiverse. There's also the fact that it's branched over into other multiverses, including Star Wars being demonstrated to be in Marvel, including in like throwback X-Men comics. So you can't argue it's all also located within the Marvel multiverse, which would vastly boost the multiversal scaling of Star Wars. But even if you ignore that, there is an infinite multiverse to consider, which you can argue an infinite number of 4D and beyond realms, possibly 5D, making them complex multiversal, potentially getting this range to complex multiversal at more of a high ball. And if you go with it being in the Marvel multiverse, you could even argue outer at this point. But we're going to go with the other part where we don't argue. We just argue, say, there's like a parallel reality where it can interact with the Marvel universe. We won't say it actually scales completely to it. Next, we have a pretty spicy layer. If you guys are a fan of spicy scaling, strong metas and whatnot, and Star Wars being stronger than you think, smash the like button, because we're going to talk about a crazy layer. This is the infinite planes / infinite hyperspace. Now, this is like the accumulation of all the dimensions and planes possible. And at the end of it resides beings like the Bedlam spirits. Now, what are the Bedlam spirits? The Bedlam spirits are beings who are able to casually manipulate, dictate, and govern like the different principles and concepts throughout reality, right? For example, shapes. What are shapes? What are they defined as? What are the rules and lines behind them? Dimensionality, they even talk about. Emotions. They make things actually real. Things of this nature. It gets extreme. They even talk about time. Other concepts. They can govern and control. They would be, at the end of all this, this would easily be like hyperversal. No problem. Probably more so infinite hyperversal, as they would be attached to all possible dimensions. But yeah, this realm gets super spicy and is super broken. Next, we kind of have a realm I named myself. I named it because this is a realm, I guess the best way to put it, that is not best defined. However, it is obviously displayed in Legends and throughout comics, so I do want to talk about it. This includes realms beyond all dimensions and mathematics and logic itself. It is explained that these realms, which are beyond all principles I stated before, which would make it inherently outer-versal, being beyond dimensions and math and all kind of math concepts. This was beings that took prisoner the likes of the Wurztech, which can govern a universe, and are stupid powerful occult that worships power beyond even that, which obviously showcases further power levels and layers throughout the cosmology. But just having beings that reside out here is insane. And you can argue that the god of machines possibly scale here, or would reside in planes here, as they would be outside of the conventional force at the very least, or the cosmic force, so they should be outside of all dimensions, which is controlled by the cosmic force. at bare minimum. So you could say the God of Machines are here. But if they're not, I'll discuss where they would be later and what specifically God of Machines was. But yeah, this layer is super strong, would easily be outerversal. Next, we have Mortis, or the True Force. The Force, in its entire principle, and all that it means, would include and encompass everything below, and is both in and beyond all layers prior mentioned. This can be refined to Mortis with beings like the Father, who is the balance of the Force. The last layer is well into outer, as it has to transcend what occurs prior and even dictates the prior levels. Now, depending on how you view this, you could say there's even further forms of Father. As we know, he created Mortis to imprison his children. So you can argue that there are forms out there higher, or that he is beyond it and just made it to shrink them down and imprison them. But regardless, it should be beyond every realm and layer before, which would make it stupid broken and well into outer. Finally, if we were to consider the God of Machines to be completely broken, and the way we would go about that assumption is the fact that apparently the Force itself and the Empire, which would include Emperor Sidious, were so afraid and so shook by the God of Machines that they didn't know what it was. It was apparently completely outside of the Force, and they erased it, all traces of it, from history so that no one would know what had happened with it and what it had done. If you believe it's outside and just above the Force entirely, and that's why they feared it, you would put it above everything else. But besides that, it should scale around where I said before in the video. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this cosmology video, let me know in the comment section down below. And let me know what you think. As well as let me know which deserves a cosmology video next. Like which verse does. And I'm happy to get to working on that. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been your boy, your host, Jobbers and Goons. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.